Chosen one, it is time to tell you everything God decides. This is not a statement of human opinion, but a declaration of divine truth. You have been selected not by chance, but by the purpose of God. There are no accidents in the spiritual realm. Every detail of your life has been calibrated to bring you to this very moment, where the veil of uncertainty is lifted and clarity begins to shine. You may have wondered why doors opened for you at certain times, why obstacles appeared at others, or why your heart carried longings that seemed beyond your understanding. The answer is that God, in His infinite wisdom, has been guiding you, shaping you, and preparing you for the revelation that now must come. God decides. This is a powerful statement, one that challenges human understanding. We are often conditioned to believe that we are the architects of our destiny, yet the truth is that divine orchestration transcends our planning. The chosen life is marked by obedience to this higher will. It is not about the applause of men, nor the accumulation of wealth or accolades. It is about fulfilling a calling that is greater than self. You have been prepared for this moment through experiences, trials, and seasons that tested your faith and strengthened your resolve. Every challenge was a teacher, every delay a coach, and every triumph a reminder of His presence. There is a timing to everything in God's plan. Revelation does not come to the impatient heart. You cannot force the unveiling of what God has reserved for the perfect moment. To understand this is to understand power, the power to wait, the power to trust, the power to remain steadfast when human logic sees no reason. Your role as a chosen one is to remain faithful, to be diligent in prayer, and to cultivate an intimacy with God that allows His voice to speak above the noise of the world. Purpose is the lens through which all understanding comes. You are not chosen for comfort, for ease, or for the validation of others. You are chosen for purpose. And purpose requires clarity, courage, and commitment. It requires that you step beyond fear, beyond uncertainty, and align every thought, word, and action with the divine plan. To live without purpose is to live without fulfillment. To embrace purpose is to touch eternity. Obedience is the key to unlocking understanding. Knowledge alone is insufficient. It is action that reveals truth. Every instruction from God, every word of guidance, and every prompting of the Spirit is designed to test your willingness to act. The chosen one does not merely hear, the chosen one responds. Faith is not passive. It is demonstrated through movement, through alignment, through living in accordance with what has been revealed. Being the chosen one carries weight. It carries responsibility. God does not call you to privilege without accountability. The insight, the direction, the revelation you receive is meant to be stewarded with wisdom and integrity. You are a light to others, a vessel of influence, and a conduit of divine purpose. The decisions you make will ripple far beyond your personal sphere. Every choice matters because God's plan is precise, and He equips those He calls with the strength to fulfill it. So now it is time. The moment of revelation has arrived. You have been chosen and you are prepared. God decides, and His decisions are perfect. You do not need to understand everything, nor do you need to control everything. Your task is to listen, to trust, to act, and to live in the certainty that His plan is unfolding in your life. The future is not a mystery to Him. It is a canvas upon which He paints the masterpiece of your destiny. You are the chosen one. It is time to hear, it is time to see, and it is time to embrace the fullness of what God has destined for you. Walk forward in faith with courage in your heart and obedience as your guide. The world is waiting for what you are called to release. The time has come and God decides. Divine selection is one of the most profound truths of life. Yet it is so often overlooked because the human mind is conditioned to measure significance by appearances, by circumstances, and by what the world calls achievement. To be chosen by God is not a matter of convenience or coincidence. It is a deliberate act of divine intention. From the very beginning, before the foundations of the world were laid, God had a plan, a purpose, and a calling for your life. You are not here by chance. Every breath you take, every step you walk, every moment you live has been orchestrated with precision so that you might arrive at the place of revelation, at the time when the truth of your selection is made known. Being chosen is not about what you have accomplished. It is not about how talented you are, and it is not about how popular or recognized you are by human standards. It is about the alignment of your life with God's purpose and the readiness of your spirit to respond to His calling. To understand divine selection, one must first recognize that God's ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. The world sees selection as something tied to merit or ability. People believe that the most talented, the most intelligent, or the most charismatic are the ones destined for greatness. But in the kingdom of God, selection is determined not by what is visible to the eye, but by what is visible to the spirit. God looks beyond the temporary, beyond the superficial, and sees the potential, the faithfulness, the character, and the heart that will endure when challenges arise. The chosen one is not necessarily the most accomplished person in the room. Often the chosen are overlooked, underestimated, and misunderstood because the human mind cannot see the invisible measures of readiness that God sees. Being chosen is also a process, not an event. It is not a sudden, random announcement, but a journey of preparation. God shapes and molds the chosen one through experiences that refine character, strengthen faith, and cultivate resilience. Every trial, every hardship, every moment of doubt, and every season of waiting is a tool in God's hand. It is through these circumstances that the chosen one learns patience, persistence, humility, and discernment. You may not understand why certain doors close or why certain opportunities are delayed, but each moment is intentional. God does not rush His chosen, He prepares them. And preparation often comes in forms that the human mind resists, through silence, through waiting, through the feeling of being forgotten, through testing, and through challenges that seem insurmountable. The truth about divine selection is that it is accompanied by divine purpose. You are not chosen simply to exist, to survive, or to achieve personal comfort. You are chosen to fulfill a mission, to be a vessel of influence, to impact lives, and to carry out a plan that transcends your understanding. God selects the one who will serve His purpose above their own ambitions. This is why the chosen one often feels a stirring in the heart that cannot be ignored, a whisper in the spirit that calls them towards something greater. It is a subtle yet persistent force, drawing them forward, aligning them with the divine plan. You may feel pressure, discomfort, or even fear, but that is the evidence of your selection. Because God does not choose those who are content with mediocrity, but those who are willing to rise to the challenge of destiny. One of the remarkable aspects of divine selection is that it often confounds human expectations. The chosen are frequently called from humble beginnings, ordinary circumstances, or positions that seem insignificant by worldly standards. This is intentional because God wants it to be clear that it is His power and not human ability that brings the purpose to fruition. When the world looks at your life, it may not recognize the significance, the calling, or the potential. People may underestimate you, doubt you, or even oppose you, but their perception does not change the truth of your selection. Divine selection is independent of human approval. It is not contingent upon popularity, wealth, or recognition. It is tied solely to God's will and God's plan, and that makes it unshakable. The chosen one is also characterized by a sensitivity to the spiritual realm, a receptivity to divine guidance, and a willingness to respond to what is unseen. God chooses those who are teachable, those whose hearts are pliable, and those who can be molded. This is why the chosen often experience moments of testing or refinement that seem disproportionate to their situation. It is through these moments that the heart is prepared, the spirit is strengthened, and the mind is aligned with higher wisdom. Selection by God carries with it a call to responsibility, to stewardship, and to the careful management of the gifts, talents, and opportunities that are entrusted. Another essential truth about being chosen is that it is not always recognized by the one who is chosen. Often, the chosen one may feel ordinary, inadequate, or ill-prepared for the tasks ahead. This is because human understanding is limited and cannot comprehend the magnitude of God's plan. Doubt may arise, fear may creep in, and the temptation to retreat or settle for less may be strong. But these feelings are part of the testing that accompanies selection. God does not call the capable. He calls those who will rely on His strength, wisdom, and guidance. Your inadequacy, your limitations, and your weaknesses are the very instruments God uses to demonstrate His power, His wisdom, and His glory. It is also critical to understand that divine selection is relational. God does not choose in isolation. The calling of the chosen often requires the support, encouragement, and collaboration of others. Relationships are not accidents. They are strategic alignments, divine appointments, and connections that equip the chosen to fulfill their mission. God surrounds the chosen with mentors, partners, and allies who contribute to their preparation, growth, and impact. The chosen one recognizes the value of these relationships, nurtures them with care, and understands that they are part of the divine orchestration that brings purpose to fruition. Ultimately, divine selection is a privilege that carries profound responsibility. To be chosen is to be entrusted with knowledge, insight, and opportunity that are not given to everyone. It is a call to leadership, influence, and service. The chosen one is accountable for how they respond to the calling, how they steward the gifts entrusted to them, and how they impact the world around them. Selection is not about entitlement or personal gain. It is about fulfilling a purpose that benefits others, advances God's plan, and leaves a legacy that endures beyond time. The journey of the chosen one is one of awakening, revelation, and action. It begins with the recognition that your life is not ordinary, that your story is not random, and that your existence is intentional. Every circumstance, every challenge, every triumph, and every delay has been orchestrated to bring you to the place of revelation, to the point where you understand that God has picked you for something extraordinary, something transformative, something eternal. This awareness ignites faith, fuels courage, and inspires action. It is the foundation upon which destiny is built, the compass that guides decision-making, and the anchor that holds firm when storms arise. Being chosen is a call to live intentionally, to walk with purpose, and to embrace the journey with both humility and confidence. It is a recognition that your life is intertwined with divine design, and that your response to this calling determines the impact you will have on the world. God's selection is precise, His timing is perfect, and His plan is unshakable, and as the chosen one, you are both the beneficiary and the steward of this divine intention. The timing of revelation is one of the most crucial aspects of the journey of the chosen one. Many people make the mistake of believing that God operates according to human schedules, that divine answers must conform to their sense of urgency, or that the delay of understanding signifies delay of purpose. Nothing could be further from the truth. God's timing is perfect because it is aligned with preparation, readiness, and the full manifestation of destiny. Revelation is not given to those who demand it. It is revealed to those who are ready to receive it. The universe may seem chaotic to the human eye, and life may appear unpredictable, but every moment is orchestrated with divine precision to ensure that the insight, knowledge, or direction you receive comes at the exact moment it will have the greatest impact. One of the first things to understand about timing is that it is often mistaken for delay. When answers do not come immediately, when clarity does not appear instantly, or when guidance seems distant, it is easy for the mind to grow impatient, frustrated, or even fearful. Yet what the human mind perceives as a delay is often a period of preparation, a necessary interval during which the heart, mind, and spirit are being aligned with the divine revelation that is about to come. God never hurries the process, because revelation given too soon may be wasted on those who are not yet ready, and insight received prematurely may be misused or misunderstood. There is wisdom in waiting, discipline in patience, and power in readiness, and the chosen one learns to embrace this truth as part of the journey. Timing is also about alignment. God's revelations are meant to intersect with your life at a point when you can act upon them with full comprehension, confidence, and effectiveness. Knowledge or insight given too early may create confusion, fear, or resistance, while knowledge given too late may result in missed opportunities. God's timing ensures that you are not only aware of His plan, but also prepared to implement it fully, with the maturity, faith, and perspective necessary for success. The moments of waiting, the seasons of uncertainty, and the periods of silence are all intentional. They are designed to shape your character, strengthen your faith, and deepen your discernment so that when revelation arrives, it is received in clarity and executed with authority. Another aspect of divine timing is the cultivation of trust. The chosen one is tested not only in readiness, but in faithfulness during the waiting period. Trust is not developed in moments of ease and convenience. It is forged in seasons of uncertainty, when circumstances seem contrary, and when the natural response would be to act prematurely or take matters into one's own hands. To trust God's timing is to recognize that there is a higher intelligence, a divine orchestration, and a wisdom beyond human comprehension that governs the unfolding of your destiny. It is the acknowledgement that while you may not see the entire picture, the Creator sees every detail, every possibility, and every eventuality, and He knows precisely when to reveal what is necessary for your advancement and the fulfillment of your purpose. The timing of revelation is intimately tied to preparation. God does not reveal the full plan before the chosen one is ready to handle it. Revelation without preparation is dangerous. Insight without maturity can lead to confusion, misuse, or spiritual stagnation. The human mind, left to its own devices, often misunderstands or misapplies knowledge. The heart, unprepared, may be burdened by responsibility it is not yet equipped to bear. That is why God orchestrates every detail of preparation. The experiences, the trials, the mentoring, the opportunities, and even the setbacks. Each of these elements serves to create a vessel capable of receiving, understanding, and implementing divine revelation in a way that glorifies God and advances His purpose. Timing also governs relationships, resources, and opportunities. Often the answers, the breakthroughs, or the strategies that God intends to reveal are tied to people, places, or circumstances that must also be in alignment. Divine timing ensures that these elements converge at the precise moment when they are most effective. The chosen one must learn patience and discernment in recognizing divine appointments. People may come and go, doors may open and close, and situations may shift, but God's timing ensures that the pieces fall into place exactly when they are needed. Waiting is not a passive act. It is an active cultivation of awareness, discernment, and preparation, positioning oneself so that when revelation arrives, it can be executed flawlessly and without delay. The timing of revelation also nurtures resilience. It teaches the chosen one to persist in faith, even when outcomes are not immediately visible. The period of waiting is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It instills discipline, perseverance, and courage, preparing the heart and mind to respond appropriately when insight is finally given. The chosen one learns to navigate life with confidence, understanding that the seeming gaps, pauses, and silences are not failures of divine intention, but intentional intervals designed to enhance effectiveness, clarify purpose, and fortify the spirit. Another vital aspect is the connection between revelation and readiness of the spirit. God does not simply provide information. He imparts wisdom, insight, and understanding to those whose hearts and spirits are attuned to His presence. Revelation is a dialogue between the divine and the chosen, a transmission of knowledge that cannot be obtained through effort alone. The human mind may crave answers, and the soul may demand clarity, but revelation is a sacred interaction that requires spiritual receptivity, attentiveness, and humility. The chosen one learns to cultivate this receptivity through prayer, meditation, reflection, and obedience, understanding that readiness is the key that unlocks insight at the right moment. Timing also ensures that revelation carries power. Knowledge, guidance, or insight delivered at the precise moment amplifies impact. A revelation given too early may be ignored, doubted, or misapplied, and one delivered too late may miss the critical window of opportunity. Divine timing maximizes effectiveness. The chosen one is positioned to act decisively, implement strategically, and influence purposefully because the insight is synchronized with the moment when it is most needed. This synchronization is a reflection of God's wisdom and a demonstration that nothing in life is random and nothing is wasted when aligned with divine orchestration. Finally, the timing of revelation teaches the chosen one the principles of patience, discernment, and faith. It emphasizes that life is a series of unfolding moments, each designed to prepare, test, and refine. The chosen one learns that answers are not given on demand, but they are given at the perfect moment when readiness, understanding, and opportunity converge. It is a lesson in surrender, trust, and alignment with divine purpose. It is the understanding that while human schedules are dictated by urgency, God's schedule is governed by wisdom, preparation, and the greater good, and it is through this timing that the chosen one comes to realize the fullness of purpose, the depth of calling, and the power of acting in accordance with divine revelation. Purpose over position is a principle that the chosen one must understand deeply, because the world constantly tries to convince us that significance is measured by titles, status, wealth, or recognition. Society applauds those who hold high positions, those who accumulate accolades, and those who occupy prestigious roles, yet God's definition of significance is entirely different. Your value, your calling, and your destiny are not determined by where you are seated in the hierarchy of life, nor by how many people recognize your achievements, but by how faithfully you fulfill the purpose for which you were created. Position may provide influence, but purpose provides direction. Position may offer comfort, but purpose offers fulfillment. Position may impress others, but purpose satisfies the soul. Understanding this distinction is essential for the chosen one, for the mission entrusted to you is far greater than any title you may hold or any recognition you may receive. The world measures success by external factors, but divine purpose is internal and eternal. Many people chase after positions because they want the validation, the power, or the security that a title appears to offer. They believe that if they attain the right position, doors will open, opportunities will multiply, and influence will naturally follow. Yet this is a false understanding because without purpose, position is empty. A title without direction is like a ship without a rudder. It may move, it may appear impressive, but it has no ability to navigate the currents, to reach the intended destination, or to fulfill the mission for which it was designed. God is not interested in your position. He is interested in your alignment with His plan. The chosen one recognizes that true authority comes from purpose, not from a label or a designation. Purpose is about contribution, influence, and impact, not about recognition or rank. The chosen one is called to serve, to lead, to inspire, and to transform the lives of others according to the divine plan. This calling often requires humility, patience, and persistence because purpose is rarely fulfilled in a way that immediately attracts applause. Many of the greatest leaders, innovators, and spiritual pioneers began in positions that the world considered lowly, insignificant, or unremarkable. What distinguished them was not the office they held, but the clarity of purpose that guided their actions. Purpose shapes decisions, defines priorities, and directs energy toward outcomes that align with divine intention, whereas position often distracts, confuses, and tempts one to measure worth by external validation. The chosen one must also understand that purpose provides resilience where position cannot. Life is filled with obstacles, setbacks, and seasons of misunderstanding, and those who rely solely on position are easily shaken when circumstances change. Positions can be taken away, recognition can fade, and accolades can disappear, but purpose remains constant. Purpose is anchored in divine design and eternal truth, which makes it unshakable. When the chosen one operates from purpose rather than position, challenges become opportunities for growth, failures become lessons in endurance, and opposition becomes a confirmation that the calling is authentic and necessary. Position is fleeting, purpose is lasting. This understanding gives the chosen one courage to persevere when the world doubts, when the journey is difficult, and when the path forward seems uncertain. Purpose also provides clarity of direction that position cannot. Many people pursue promotions, titles, or status without ever understanding why. They are driven by ambition, desire, or the influence of others, but without a clear sense of purpose. Their actions are scattered, inconsistent, and ultimately unfulfilling. The chosen one, however, is guided by a clear understanding of why they exist, what they are called to accomplish, and how their actions contribute to a greater plan. Purpose focuses attention, aligns priorities, and ensures that energy is invested in meaningful outcomes rather than wasted on superficial gains. It allows the chosen one to navigate life with intentionality, to say no to distractions, and to stay committed to the mission that matters most. Another critical dimension of purpose over position is the understanding that true influence flows from contribution, not authority. Many people believe that leadership is granted by a position or a title, but real leadership emerges from the ability to serve, to inspire, and to positively impact the lives of others. The chosen one leads not because of a label, but because of a calling. Purpose drives action that matters, influences decisions that endure, and inspires others to rise above limitations. Leadership without purpose is hollow, but leadership guided by divine purpose carries authority, authenticity, and the power to change destinies. When the chosen one focuses on purpose, their influence multiplies regardless of the position they occupy, because people are drawn to clarity, integrity, and conviction rather than outward displays of status. Purpose also shapes priorities in ways that position cannot. The pursuit of position often leads to compromise, distraction, and the temptation to pursue what is easy, popular, or socially acceptable. Purpose, however, demands commitment, focus, and sometimes sacrifice. The chosen one understands that fulfillment comes not from being recognized by everyone, but from being faithful to the task entrusted by God. Purpose directs decisions, dictates where time is invested, and clarifies what truly matters. It prevents the chosen one from being sidetracked by trivial concerns, from seeking approval from the wrong sources, and from compromising integrity for temporary gain. Purpose ensures that life is lived intentionally and with meaning. Purpose over position also cultivates humility. When the chosen one understands that significance comes from fulfilling God's plan rather than from human acknowledgement, pride and arrogance lose their grip. Titles, accolades, and positions become tools, not trophies. They serve the mission rather than defining the person. This humility allows the chosen one to remain teachable, adaptable, and open to divine instruction. It also fosters generosity, collaboration, and empathy, because the focus shifts from self-promotion to contribution. The chosen one does not chase recognition. They pursue alignment with the divine plan and trust that impact, influence, and fulfillment naturally follow when purpose guides action. Furthermore, purpose over position empowers the chosen one to endure criticism, rejection, and misunderstanding. The world often misunderstands those who prioritize purpose, especially when their mission challenges convention, disrupts the status quo, or inspires change. Critics may question motives, colleagues may resist, and circumstances may seem unfair. But the chosen one anchored in purpose is unaffected by external judgment, because their measure of success is internal and eternal. Purpose provides a stable foundation that withstands the shifting opinions of others and sustains the spirit through trials, setbacks, and opposition. Position may be vulnerable to attack, but purpose is unassailable. The chosen one also recognizes that purpose over position is a principle of long-term impact. Positions may offer temporary influence, limited reach, or fleeting authority, but purpose generates legacy, transforms communities, and shapes future generations. The fulfillment of purpose leaves a mark that endures far beyond the individual, creating ripples that extend into eternity. Position can open doors, but purpose determines which doors should be entered and what should be accomplished once inside. Purpose directs energy, talent, and opportunity toward outcomes that matter, ensuring that the chosen one's life contributes to something far greater than self-interest. Finally, purpose over position fosters freedom and empowerment. When the chosen one is motivated by position alone, life becomes a game of comparison, competition, and external validation. The mind is enslaved by the opinions of others, and the spirit is burdened by the pursuit of approval. But when purpose is embraced, the chosen one experiences clarity, focus, and confidence. Freedom comes from knowing that significance is not determined by human measures, that authority is not tied to a title, and that fulfillment is found in alignment with divine intention. Purpose empowers action, guides decisions, and ignites the passion to fulfill the calling entrusted by God. Obedience unlocks insight because the pathway to understanding is not found merely in intellectual pursuit, reasoning, or curiosity. The human mind is capable of gathering knowledge, analyzing facts, and formulating strategies, but true insight, the kind that transforms destiny, comes only through alignment with divine instruction. Obedience is the bridge between hearing and seeing, between knowing and understanding, between potential and manifestation. The chosen one discovers that the moments of revelation are directly linked to acts of faithful obedience, to the willingness to act on guidance even when it is difficult, unclear, or contrary to human logic. Insight is not granted to the curious alone. It is given to those who respond faithfully to what has already been revealed. Knowledge without action is inert, but obedience activates understanding, opens doors, and elevates the chosen to a level of discernment that surpasses ordinary comprehension. Obedience requires a heart that trusts, a spirit that yields, and a mind that prioritizes divine instruction over personal preference. Many people struggle with obedience because it demands surrender, humility, and faith in the unseen. They resist because obedience often challenges comfort, convenience, and familiar routines. Yet it is precisely in this resistance that growth is found. Every time the chosen one obeys, even when understanding is incomplete, a new layer of insight is unlocked. The act of obedience is a spiritual key that activates wisdom, sharpens perception, and opens the mind to revelation that could never have been discovered through intellect alone. The principle is simple yet profound. God reveals His mysteries to those who respond faithfully, and obedience becomes the vehicle through which knowledge transitions into understanding. Insight gained through obedience is cumulative. It is not a single event, but a continuous unfolding of awareness. Each act of faithful response builds a foundation for greater understanding. The chosen one begins to recognize patterns, connections, and divine strategies that were previously hidden. The steps of obedience taken in faith serve as markers on the journey, illuminating the next path, clarifying the next decision, and preparing the heart for more profound revelation. Insight grows with fidelity, and the chosen one learns that even the smallest acts of obedience have significant consequences. The faithful execution of simple instructions often paves the way for monumental breakthroughs. Obedience also cultivates sensitivity to divine guidance. When the chosen one practices obedience, the spirit becomes attuned to the subtle movements of the divine. The heart begins to discern between human reasoning and spiritual prompting, between natural inclination and divine direction. The more consistently one obeys, the more clearly the voice of God can be heard. Insight is often communicated in ways that require a responsive spirit, through intuition, inner conviction, circumstances, and even through the influence of others. A life committed to obedience develops discernment, the ability to recognize truth in the midst of noise, and the wisdom to act decisively when revelation is presented. The connection between obedience and insight also teaches the principle of cause and effect in the spiritual realm. Obedience is the cause, insight is the effect. Every act of faithfulness produces results, often unseen at the moment. These results may manifest as clarity, understanding, opportunity, or confirmation of the next step. The chosen one comes to realize that obedience is not restrictive but liberating. By yielding to God's direction, the spirit gains freedom from confusion, anxiety, and misdirection. The path becomes illuminated because insight flows as a natural consequence of alignment. Where there is obedience, there is clarity, and where there is clarity, there is power to act decisively and purposefully. Obedience is also a test of integrity. True insight cannot be separated from character. God does not entrust wisdom, revelation, or understanding to those who are inconsistent, disobedient, or selective in their faithfulness. The chosen one is measured not by ability alone, but by willingness to respond fully and consistently. Every decision to obey, even in private or unnoticed, is evidence of readiness to receive insight. This is why revelation often comes incrementally in stages and through experiences that test commitment. Those who are faithful in the small things demonstrate their readiness for the greater, and obedience in every sphere of life becomes the proving ground for spiritual maturity, insight, and understanding. Obedience also deepens humility, which is essential for insight. Knowledge can inflate the ego, create pride, and distort perspective, but obedience grounds the chosen one in reality, dependence, and alignment with divine authority. Insight gained without humility often leads to arrogance, misuse, or misunderstanding. Through obedience, the chosen one cultivates a heart posture that is receptive, teachable, and adaptable. Humility allows insight to be integrated wisely, applied effectively, and shared responsibly. The spirit learns that true understanding is not about personal gain or recognition, but about alignment with divine purpose, the advancement of truth, and the fulfillment of destiny. The principle of obedience unlocking insight also extends to action under uncertainty. The chosen one is often called to act before full understanding is provided, to step into situations where outcomes are unclear, and to move forward without complete visibility. It is in these moments of courageous obedience that revelation is accelerated. God provides the next step, clarifies the path, and illuminates what was previously hidden when the heart demonstrates faithfulness to act. Waiting for perfect understanding before taking action limits growth and delays insight. The chosen one discovers that insight is dynamic, often revealed progressively as obedience is demonstrated and as the journey unfolds. Obedience strengthens the connection between vision and manifestation. The chosen one often receives glimpses of potential, dreams of purpose, or convictions of destiny. Yet these remain abstract without faithful action. Obedience translates vision into experience. Each obedient step converts the unseen into the tangible, the abstract into reality, and the potential into actualization. Insight, therefore, is not only intellectual understanding, but also practical comprehension. The ability to perceive the right course of action, execute it effectively, and recognize its significance within the larger framework of divine purpose. The chosen one learns that revelation is inseparable from response, and understanding is inseparable from action. Moreover, obedience fosters perseverance, which is critical for sustained insight. Revelation is rarely delivered all at once. It comes in stages, layers, and increments. The chosen one learns to persist in faithfulness, even when immediate understanding is absent. Each act of obedience contributes to a spiritual momentum that positions the heart and mind for greater comprehension. Insight grows cumulatively, reinforced by continued commitment, diligence, and willingness to follow guidance faithfully. Through this process, the chosen one develops resilience, clarity, and confidence to navigate the challenges of destiny. Obedience also aligns the chosen one with spiritual authority. Insight is not merely information, it is the application of wisdom, the understanding of divine timing, and the discernment of correct action. By obeying, the chosen one harmonizes with the principles that govern spiritual truth, opens channels for revelation, and gains the authority to act with discernment. Those who resist obedience often encounter confusion, frustration, and misdirection because insight is withheld until alignment is restored. The chosen one discovers that obedience is not optional. It is the gateway through which the spirit is attuned, the mind is enlightened, and the path of destiny is clarified. The power of alignment is one of the most transformative principles in the life of the chosen one because it governs the degree to which destiny is realized, purpose is fulfilled, and divine influence is released. Alignment is not simply a matter of coincidence or timing. It is a deliberate harmonization of the mind, heart, and spirit with God's will. It is the conscious positioning of one's life in accordance with divine principles, a deliberate submission to guidance, and a focused dedication to the calling entrusted by God. The chosen one discovers that when life is aligned with God's purpose, circumstances, people, and opportunities converge in ways that surpass human comprehension. Misalignment, on the other hand, produces confusion, delay, and frustration, often masking the potential for breakthrough and hindering the manifestation of destiny. Alignment is therefore not optional. It is essential for effectiveness, clarity, and the full expression of divine calling. Alignment begins with the recognition that the source of all wisdom, understanding, and provision is God. The chosen one must cultivate an awareness that life does not operate according to human schedules alone, but according to divine orchestration. The heart, mind, and actions must be positioned in accordance with God's direction to unlock the flow of purpose. This requires intentional reflection, prayer, and self-examination, because alignment is as much internal as it is external. The chosen one learns that external success without internal alignment produces temporary results, confusion, and ultimately unfulfilling outcomes. True power emerges when internal clarity, spiritual attunement, and conscious obedience converge, creating a resonance with the principles that govern divine order. One of the greatest aspects of alignment is its ability to attract resources, people, and opportunities that are necessary for the fulfillment of purpose. When life is aligned with God's plan, doors open that no man can close, relationships are established that are strategic and purposeful, and circumstances converge with perfect precision. This is why alignment is often invisible to the casual observer. It does not rely on human planning skill or influence alone. It is orchestrated from the spiritual realm, and its impact is revealed in the synchronicity of events, the timing of encounters, and the emergence of solutions that seem miraculous. The chosen one learns that alignment is the magnet that draws the necessary elements into position for the advancement of destiny. Alignment also strengthens resilience in the face of challenges. Life inevitably presents obstacles, tests, and periods of adversity, but when the chosen one is aligned with God's purpose, every trial is transformed into a lesson, every setback becomes a stepping stone, and every difficulty serves to refine character and faith. Misalignment, however, amplifies struggle, magnifies confusion, and obscures the pathway forward. The chosen one comes to understand that alignment is not merely about avoiding hardship. It is about positioning oneself to navigate trials with wisdom, clarity, and a sense of divine guidance. When life is aligned, the spirit operates in confidence, the mind is steady, and the heart remains steadfast regardless of external circumstances. The power of alignment is also evident in decision-making. The chosen one frequently faces choices that have long-term consequences, and the ability to discern the correct path is enhanced when alignment is maintained. When the mind, heart, and spirit are synchronized with divine will, decisions are made with clarity, certainty, and authority. Misaligned decisions, on the other hand, result from impulses, emotions, or pressures that are disconnected from divine guidance, often leading to confusion, frustration, and unintended consequences. Alignment, therefore, functions as both a compass and a filter, guiding action and ensuring that choices contribute to the fulfillment of purpose rather than detract from it. Furthermore, alignment cultivates spiritual sensitivity and awareness. The chosen one becomes attuned to the movements of the spirit, the subtle guidance of intuition, and the patterns that reveal divine strategy. When life is aligned, the ability to discern truth, recognize opportunities, and interpret circumstances with wisdom is heightened. The chosen one experiences an increasing awareness of how events, encounters, and instructions are interconnected, allowing for strategic action that advances the mission with precision. Misalignment, conversely, dulls spiritual perception, blinds the mind to opportunity, and creates confusion in the presence of divine direction. Alignment is therefore essential for insight, strategy, and spiritual growth. Alignment is also relational in nature. The chosen one often interacts with individuals who play pivotal roles in the fulfillment of purpose. Alignment ensures that these relationships are harmonious, cooperative, and synergistic. When the chosen one is misaligned, conflicts, misunderstandings, and obstacles are magnified, hindering progress and diminishing influence. Alignment creates an environment where collaboration, mentorship, and support flourish naturally, amplifying effectiveness and expanding impact. It ensures that interactions with others are purposeful, constructive, and conducive to the realization of destiny. The principle of alignment also extends to the use of time, talent, and resources. The chosen one learns that mismanagement or misuse of these assets is often a reflection of misalignment. When priorities are inconsistent with purpose, energy is scattered, attention is diverted, and opportunities are missed. Alignment focuses resources on what matters most, directs energy towards strategic action, and ensures that talent is deployed in ways that maximize impact. The chosen one discovers that true efficiency and effectiveness emerge not from effort alone, but from effort that is aligned with divine guidance, purpose, and timing. Alignment also magnifies influence and authority. The chosen one recognizes that spiritual alignment produces credibility, authenticity, and resonance with those who are impacted by leadership and guidance. Influence is not merely a product of knowledge, position, or charisma. It is the natural consequence of a life that operates in harmony with divine principles. Authority flows naturally when alignment is maintained, because the chosen one's actions, words, and decisions reflect the wisdom, integrity, and discernment of one who is attuned to higher purpose. Misalignment, on the other hand, produces inconsistency, erodes trust, and diminishes the ability to lead effectively. Another critical dimension of alignment is its impact on vision and clarity. The chosen one often receives glimpses of potential, dreams of purpose, or convictions of destiny, but the ability to realize these visions is dependent on alignment. When the heart, mind, and spirit are positioned in accordance with God's will, clarity emerges, obstacles are minimized, and the pathway to manifestation becomes increasingly visible. Misalignment clouds vision, creates doubt, and hinders progress. The power of alignment ensures that vision is not merely conceptual, but actionable, practical, and transformative, allowing the chosen one to move with confidence toward the fulfillment of calling. Finally, alignment produces harmony within the self. The chosen one experiences peace, confidence, and assurance when life is aligned with divine purpose. There is a sense of coherence, flow, and spiritual equilibrium that permeates thought, decision, and action. Misalignment, conversely, generates internal conflict, indecision, and frustration, often masking the presence of divine favor and potential. Alignment unifies heart, mind, and spirit, creating a foundation upon which destiny can be realized, influence can be expanded, and divine intention can be manifested. The responsibility of the chosen is a weighty yet empowering truth that defines the life decisions and influence of those selected by God. To be chosen is not merely an honor, a blessing, or a privilege. It is a calling that carries accountability, stewardship, and a sacred duty to fulfill purpose. Many fail to grasp this because human thinking often equates being chosen with entitlement or reward. The chosen one, however, understands that selection is accompanied by expectation, that privilege is inseparable from responsibility, and that every gift, talent, or opportunity entrusted by God is ultimately for service and fulfillment of divine intent. Responsibility begins with awareness, the awareness that life is not random, that existence is purposeful, and that every moment, decision, and action contributes to the broader plan. The chosen one recognizes that their life is a vessel through which divine influence flows, and that this influence must be managed with integrity, discernment, and faithfulness. The first aspect of responsibility is stewardship. God entrusts the chosen with gifts, insight, influence, and opportunity, and these resources must be managed wisely. Stewardship is not only about material possessions, it is about time, talent, character, relationships, and spiritual insight. The chosen one is accountable for how these resources are used, recognizing that mismanagement or neglect can diminish the impact of purpose and hinder destiny. Every decision becomes significant because it either advances the mission or delays it. Stewardship requires discipline, diligence, and intentionality, and the chosen one learns to prioritize actions, cultivate integrity, and ensure that every resource entrusted is maximized for impact, not wasted in triviality or misdirection. Responsibility also demands moral integrity and ethical consistency. The chosen one is called to exemplify character in thought, word, and deed because influence amplifies both good and error. Every choice, every interaction, and every expression of authority carries consequences, both visible and unseen. Misalignment between moral values and actions can erode credibility, obscure purpose, and compromise destiny. The chosen one understands that responsibility is inseparable from personal accountability, and that faithfulness is measured not only by external accomplishments, but by the integrity of character demonstrated in private and public life alike. Obedience to divine principles reinforces moral clarity, ensures alignment with purpose, and strengthens the capacity to exercise authority responsibly. Another dimension of responsibility is leadership. Being chosen often entails guiding, influencing, and impacting others, and leadership without accountability can become destructive rather than transformative. The chosen one recognizes that leadership is not a platform for personal gain, prestige, or self-interest, but a platform for service, empowerment, and advancement of divine purpose. Leadership under divine calling requires vision, discernment, patience, and courage, because the decisions made affect the lives, opportunities, and growth of others, responsibility demands that the chosen one act thoughtfully, serve faithfully, and inspire with authenticity, understanding that their influence is not their own, but a reflection of the trust God has placed in them to steward and lead wisely. Responsibility also extends to obedience. The chosen one is accountable for responding faithfully to the guidance, instruction, and prompting of God. Every revelation, insight, or directive carries with it a duty to act. Delay, hesitation, or selective obedience can impede progress, diminish understanding, and obstruct the flow of destiny. The chosen one learns that responsibility is active, not passive, and that faithfulness in following guidance is the primary means by which insight is unlocked, purpose is realized, and impact is maximized. Obedience transforms awareness into action, insight into strategy, and vision into reality, making responsibility inseparable from the willingness to respond faithfully at every stage of the journey. Another critical aspect of responsibility is stewardship of influence. The chosen one's words, actions, and decisions create ripples that affect others far beyond the immediate sphere of life. Influence can inspire, encourage, and elevate, but it can also mislead, confuse, or harm when exercised without wisdom, discernment, and accountability. The chosen one is responsible for ensuring that influence is constructive, empowering, and aligned with divine purpose. This requires vigilance, self-reflection, and continuous cultivation of wisdom and discernment. Responsibility is not optional in leadership. It is inseparable from the calling and the magnitude of the influence entrusted by God. Responsibility also encompasses resilience in the face of challenge. The chosen one often faces opposition, criticism, misunderstanding, and trials. Life under divine calling is rarely easy, and the weight of accountability can be heavy. Yet the chosen one learns that resilience is a form of stewardship, that perseverance in the midst of difficulty demonstrates faithfulness, and that the capacity to maintain alignment with purpose despite external pressure strengthens credibility, influence, and effectiveness. Responsibility demands that the chosen one remains steadfast, disciplined, and focused, recognizing that every trial is an opportunity to demonstrate faithfulness, cultivate strength, and a firm commitment to divine calling. Accountability to self is another aspect of responsibility. The chosen one must cultivate self-mastery, discipline, and intentionality because the first level of stewardship begins within. Thoughts, attitudes, and actions must be monitored, refined, and aligned with divine standards. Self-discipline ensures that decisions reflect purpose rather than impulse, that actions amplify influence rather than compromise it, and that personal growth progresses in tandem with spiritual calling. Responsibility is holistic, encompassing not only external duties, but also internal alignment, moral clarity, and spiritual maturity, which together produce integrity, authority, and credibility. The responsibility of the chosen also includes the nurturing of legacy. Every choice, action, and decision contributes to a narrative that extends beyond the individual. The chosen one is accountable for ensuring that the life they lead, the principles they uphold, and the impact they create leave a lasting, positive influence for future generations. Legacy is not accidental. It is the result of intentional stewardship, faithful service, and alignment with purpose. The chosen one understands that responsibility is measured not by immediate recognition or temporary success, but by the enduring influence of a life dedicated to fulfilling divine calling. Responsibility further encompasses the use of opportunity. Opportunities are not guaranteed, they are entrusted, and the chosen one is accountable for recognizing, responding, and acting upon them faithfully. Opportunity may be fleeting, requiring courage, decisiveness, and insight, and neglect or inaction can result in lost potential. The chosen one learns that each opportunity carries with it a mandate to advance purpose, serve others, and demonstrate faithfulness. And that responsibility demands awareness, readiness, and responsiveness to the divine orchestration of life. Finally, the chosen one's responsibility is amplified by the very privilege of being selected. To be chosen is to be entrusted with knowledge, insight, influence, and opportunity that are not given to all. This privilege carries weight because it obligates faithfulness, integrity, and action. The chosen one is accountable for nurturing gifts, exercising authority wisely, serving others faithfully, and aligning every aspect of life with divine purpose. Responsibility is therefore inseparable from selection, stewardship, and purpose, and it is through faithful execution of this responsibility that the chosen one fulfills destiny, influences lives, and manifests the fullness of divine intention. And now, my beloved, it is time for you to rise in the full awareness of who you are. God has chosen you not by accident, not by chance, but with intention and precision. Every trial, every delay, every instruction, and every moment of waiting has been orchestrated to prepare you for the revelation of your purpose and the manifestation of your destiny. You are entrusted with insight, influence, and authority that the world cannot grant and circumstances cannot take away. Remember, it is not your position that defines you. It is your purpose. It is not the applause of men, but the obedience to God that unlocks wisdom. It is not the fleeting opportunities, but the alignment with divine principles that activates power. The responsibility upon you is great, but so is the glory that awaits those who faithfully walk the path of the chosen. Stand firm, act with courage, obey with faith, align with purpose, and let your life become the testimony of God's perfect timing, boundless wisdom, and eternal plan. You are the chosen one, and the world waits for the fulfillment of what only you can accomplish.